Typhoon Ragasa remains very powerful as it nears Hong Kong. Latest on this formidable typhoon that is continuing through the South China Sea this afternoon and evening. Now still a strong category 4, currently at 20.6 degrees north, 116.6 degrees east. The storm on its northern side may be flaking out just a little bit there, but overall the structure of Ragasa is still looking very good, with estimated wind speeds of 145 miles per hour and a pressure of 928 millibars, moving west-northwest at 12 miles per hour or 19 kilometers per hour, the latest as of 5 p.m. Hong Kong time this September 23rd. Well, the storm is going to continue in that same vein over the next couple of days and turn further towards the west, but look at that wind field extending out up to 215 nautical miles in the northern quadrants, which means that land areas may already be receiving the impacts of this storm now. Orange typhoon warnings are in effect from Huilai westwards to Pingshan, not far from Shenzhen. It's 271 kilometers from Shanhui, 312 from Hong Kong, which is under a signal 8 wind warning, 358 kilometers from Macau, which is under signal 3 at this time, 442 from Guangzhou, and 598 from Maoming towards the west. Well, yellow and blue typhoon warnings are in effect for other locations across China as well, over quite extensive areas actually, with blue typhoon warnings extending as far as the border with Vietnam. Winds of over 200 kilometers per hour are possible along the coast of China wherever Ragasa makes its closest approach or potential landfall. Typhoon conditions now expected in Hong Kong and Macau, with the potential landfall location lying further to the west. With a large northern wind field as depicted earlier, strong storm force winds will be felt over a wide area, and that is already beginning. Of course, heavy rainfall, strong rain showers could also cause flooding. Here's the forecast over the next few days then. The storm getting very close to those big population areas, but ultimately sidling along the coast, moving through the Lisu Peninsula into the Gulf of Tonkin, and then making landfall somewhere in northern Vietnam, what's left of it possibly close to Haiphong and Hanoi, and then moving inland where it will dissipate quite quickly over the weekend or even sooner than that. So that's the view towards its future. Not a huge amount of time left for Ragasa. 145 mile per hour winds, decent backing from satellite estimates ADT, JTWC and JMA, just a tad lower than that on their latest updates. JTWC going with a 140 mile per hour estimate right now, which is somewhat understandable. The storm had appeared to be weakening a little bit more, but it looks like it may have just edged back in a little bit on that strength, but I think it will be temporary. There's Pagasa's forecast cone. The storm has just exited the Philippine area of responsibility now. They're expecting it to remain super typhoon for a good while there, until just passing the Pearl River Delta and then turning a little bit further westwards. There's the JTWC forecast cone. They're calling for a high-end Category 2 landfall there towards the west, not far from Yangjiang, I believe, and then continuing westwards as a tropical storm. This is the GFS forecast model, showing a relatively similar picture, but just about staying off the coast, still delivering typhoon force winds to a large part of the southern Chinese coast. And then that second system becoming a significant typhoon as well, by the way, almost already a tropical cyclone. That system in the Philippine Sea right now will be another one tracking through the Philippines later this week. Close up there of Ragasa, dying off very quickly when it reaches Vietnam. Then that second system pushing through the northern Visayas region of the Philippines as a significant tropical storm, then a typhoon, could even briefly reach major status before slamming into the eastern coast of Vietnam. Here's simulated radar reflectivity showing that the storm holds on to that core for a good while, pretty much until it gets very close to that landfall point. Then it really starts to fall apart. Then that next system really starting to show off a bit of an eye there as well. Interesting to see just how strong that next system might manage to get. But Ragasa, of course, is the main feature that we're currently watching, obviously with those warnings out in effect at this point. Of course, heavy rainfall of any kind is not always the amount of rain, it can sometimes be the rain rate. With extremely heavy showers possible in Ragasa, flash flooding could be a major concern. But take a look at the total rainfall numbers then as the storm moves on through. To be honest, not a huge amount of rain gets to infiltrate the coast of China by the looks of things. The next system causing a lot of rainfall there for the Philippines as well, so we're looking at both on top of each other here. Still an extra 8 inches, 200 millimeters for parts of Taiwan, the mountains from Ragasa. 16 inches offshore, 400 millimeters, but looks like onshore the maximum amounts will probably be around 200 millimeters for Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangzhou. In Vietnam, though, very high rainfall amounts from both systems combined. Looking at sea surface temperatures, they're still good, remaining 28 degrees Celsius and possibly higher than that. These are air temperatures, not sea surface temperatures, so those SSTs will be a little bit higher than what is depicted on the map right here. But certainly another warm patch ahead of the storm, getting up above 29 degrees Celsius. So the storm's biggest enemy may well be itself, or possibly dry air, wind shear and and land interaction. Here's the latest satellite imagery then as we take a look at the daytime shots of this storm, still looking extremely picturesque on visible imagery, although cracks are starting to appear on that northern eye wall as we look at the infrared. The eye temperature not quite as good as it has been. Of course, near peak it was around 18 or 19 degrees Celsius. It's fallen to around 13 degrees Celsius at this point, with the cloud tops on the northern side, of course, nowhere near as good as they were, but still, it's quite a well-rounded system, with that inner eye wall, at least that inner core, stretching almost all the way around with minus 70 degree cloud tops. There it is, moving towards the west-northwest at this time, and you can see if it did keep going in that direction, it would take it on almost a collision course with Hong Kong, but we do expect that that westward turn will happen pretty soon, but it is going to get very close to these major urban areas, and obviously it looks like at this stage that it will produce typhoon force winds for parts of Hong Kong, Macau, and maybe even other areas further inland. But looking at those cloud tops again, looking rather decent, passing over one of those tiny islands right now as well, by the way, on the edge of the eye in the South China Sea there. So they're of course obviously going to be receiving a very significant impact right now. Just that northwestern side not quite holding on to those minus 70s, but overall the southern and eastern sides really holding Ragasa up. I expect gradual weakening will continue. Here's some radar, really nice looking core there on that radar imagery, so no signs of an eye wall replacement cycle, at least at the moment, looking at that radar imagery. Look towards the north though, those bands moving in as well, with some significant, maybe even some ferocious rainfall, rain rates over the next few hours for some of those coastal regions. Wide shot here now as well. You can see that next system starting to take shape on the right hand side of the picture. Be interesting to see how it manages to take shape, but certainly the GFS model is bowled over by it, and we'll have to wait and see whether it manages to get itself together quickly. In the Eastern Pacific, Nada is getting closer to hurricane status, but isn't there yet, moving away from Mexico. Gabrielle became a Category 4 last night, just moving away from Bermuda, and still looking very impressive today. Another area of interest down there as well could develop in the Central Atlantic. Ragasa, obviously, near Guri, weakening and stalling now, and that next system, N9, which is what we've tagged it, is likely to develop.